Hi there, everybody. How's it going? I hope you're having a good day. Man, it has been a crazy few weeks. Just to sort of catch y'all up on what's been going on with me, I got like super sick about a week ago, and thankfully there wasn't a ton of news or anything going on, and I just kind of decided to just have a little bit of downtime. That's it. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things now. Yeah, I was sick for last weekend. I was like out, so there's no stream, and I already hadn't made a video for a few days because nothing's really happening. There's nothing that I find particularly compelling. Like, I think the earnings report has been the big thing. Talked about Fallout. That was one of my last videos, and yeah, so I've also been sort of thinking a lot lately about like, well, what kind of content should I be making on the channel? Especially when there's not a ton of news or anything. So it's just something in the back of my mind, and I'm going to be talking about stuff like that today. We're going to bring the music down a little bit here. I want to talk a little bit about the Xbox earnings. So long story short, it was just strange seeing the dialogue about Xbox earnings. Like, if you just type Xbox earnings from the past week, let's see what happens here. All right, I don't have my effects turned on. One second. Let's turn those on real quick. Boop. Basically, Microsoft Surface and hardware revenues takes a big hit. What's the real story of Xbox in 2024? Activision Blizzard boosts Microsoft financials as Xbox hardware revenue falls. I actually, this is the one we're going to be reading today because I think it was really interesting, honestly. Call of Duty and Diablo boost Microsoft's gaming revenues, but Xbox sales continue to fall. This is like a bizarre segmentation of the report that... No, that's kind of what Satya Nadella said during the call. So that one's fine. What else we got here? Like, all this Xbox hardware sales continue to fall. I guess they're going for the headline, right? This is correct. Xbox gaming segment gets another boost thanks to Activision Blizzard. I mean, that's correct. Yes. Microsoft reveals impact of Activision Blizzard on gaming revenue. So like, some of these are fine. Some of these are just going for headline, I guess. But yeah, let's take a look at this one because I thought this one paints a clearer picture of what is happening. I don't think anybody was surprised that Activision Blizzard helped bolster Microsoft's gaming portfolio, right? It is very clear that that helped them. And Edgeman, I don't understand why that word was used, but I did see that, and I just don't get it. They're numbers. It's like, do you want to... like, it's just numbers. It's all just numbers, right? And you can look and you can see all the numbers about what impacted what. So the idea that the company that they purchased helped make them money makes sense. So it was very strange. Anyway, moving on. Activision Blizzard boosts Microsoft's financials as Xbox hardware revenue falls. Xbox hardware revenue is expected to fall again in Q4. So a focus on the hardware revenue, but let's read what the numbers actually say in this report. More personal computing, which houses Xbox revenue, increased by 17% year on year during Q3 to 15.6 billion. So personal computing is way up. Xbox content and services are way up 62%. Xbox hardware specifically declined 31% in Q3 and is expected to fall again in Q4. Xbox is clearly not concerned about their hardware. They're very aware that They're just not moving consoles. You know, PlayStation is still moving consoles, but they're slashing their forecast. And for me, that's a big reason why the handheld version of an Xbox thing would be very, very compelling in my opinion. But let's continue on here. Consolidated revenue in the more personal computing segment, which houses, among other things, Microsoft's video game business, increased 17% year on year to $15.6 billion. So overall, personal computing, which is Xbox, is up 17%. Everybody's focusing on how hardware is down. Xbox consoles didn't sell well. They're down 30%. They were down 30% last time. They're expected to be down next time. But somehow, Xbox is still doing well. And the whole Microsoft gaming division is doing well. Digging deeper, Xbox content and services revenue increased by 62% year on year. But that upswing was driven by 61 points of net impact from the company's Activision Blizzard merger. So long story short, Activision Blizzard has been tremendously positive for Microsoft and for Xbox. And if you look, and we're going to get to it in just a second, at Satya Nadella's comments about the earnings call, you can see that Satya Nadella basically said, if you look on the PlayStation Store right now, all of our games are #1 there. So something is happening in the hardware sector. I'm not sure, like Switch sales are continuing to slow. PlayStation is cutting their forecast. Xbox has continued negative 30% on their console sales growth. And I think Microsoft is going to make a big change in that respect, because they're just like, look, like console hardware is not where it's at for the future for us. Gaming revenue increased by 51% year on year, with Microsoft attributing that surge to the previously mentioned growth in Xbox content and services. Xbox hardware revenue, however, decreased by 31%, driven by lower volume of consoles sold. So gaming revenue is up 51%. That's crazy. That is great. What's notable is that Microsoft CFO Amy Hood fully expects Xbox hardware revenue to tumble again in Q4. During an earnings call, Hood said Activision Blizzard titles are already delivering better than expected performances. Call of Duty was singled out for praise, which has positively impacted content and services. And you have to remember that, you know, Diablo Immortal just came to Xbox Game Pass. Call of Duty is likely coming to Game Pass. So their content and services play is going to continue to go up. This is likely why Xbox made the decision to release those games on PlayStation. Satya Nadella even calls it out. It's like, we're like the #1 seller in software and services. So they're not moving consoles, but they are moving software. Everybody seems to want to play Xbox games. And that's good for Xbox, which is why they're seeing these revenue growths. Looking ahead to Q4, Hood said Microsoft expects gaming revenue growth in the low to mid 40s, including 50 points of net impact from the Activision merger. The company also anticipates Xbox content and services revenue growth in the high 50s, again driven by roughly 60 points of net impact from its Activision acquisition. Hardware revenue will decline again year over year, she added, suggesting Xbox Series X and S consoles won't exactly be flying off shelves. Obviously, the headline that most people went for was, oh, Xbox hardware is doing very poorly. But when you look at the whole picture, Xbox is doing very well. And they're expecting continued growth in every other sector except for hardware. I have to wonder if that's where these handheld rumors are coming from. They see the writing on the wall about their console. They're just not selling the way that they anticipated. So maybe this is a really good time for them to try mobile. Not mobile, but handheld. And I think they're going to see great success with it. And what's been really crazy is there has been a highlight about how Activision is included in these numbers. Like, don't forget, everybody, this is because they bought Activision. And it's just like, Yeah, they bought Activision to make money. Of course they did. Why else would you buy a company? I tweeted something and it made everybody mad. Of course. I said, here's what I said. Oh, you can't really see it. Xbox is only successful because they bought Activision. Seems like a pretty good investment then, doesn't it? Right? Like, if they're only successful because they bought Activision, here, there you can see it now, then I guess they did a good thing. Well, yeah, the exclusives are why they're making so much money, Dr. Killshot. Exclusively owned. They're releasing everywhere, though. So, like, releasing their games on the PlayStation platform is making them tons of money. So I just find it strange that, like, there's some narrative out there that there's some sort of obfuscation of these numbers when they clearly say multiple times during their earnings call, this is because of Activision. Like, they admit that. So they're very clear. They're very concise about where the revenue is coming from. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has indicated hardware sales aren't the be-all and end-all weighing in on Xbox. He said the company remains committed to meeting players where they are and bringing great games to more people on more devices, like potentially referencing that they're going to continue to release games on PlayStation. I see everybody asking me the question about that word usage. I can't answer it. I didn't ask anybody about it. I had no involvement with it. I don't agree with that particular phrasing. And I find it strange. That's all I can say about it. It makes no sense to me. And yeah, so anyway. Microsoft has been expressing that sentiment for some time, but here's what Satya Nadella said. We're expanding our games to new platforms, bringing 4 of our fan favorite titles to Nintendo Switch and Sony PlayStation for the first time, he said. In fact, earlier this month, we had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher. 7 of the top 25 games on PlayStation are Xbox owned. Hey, Brett, good to see you. That is huge for them. That is huge for them. So their strategy all along was not to change anything. If anything, they've become more aggressive with getting Xbox games on other platforms because they've given up on the console war. Look, if you want to play Xbox games on your Xbox console, that's fine. They plan to continue making hardware for you. But at the end of the day, I think they're less concerned about exclusives at this point because they're just like, look at their numbers. They've made, and we're going to get to it in a second, they've made like more money than they've made last year already or something. I can't remember the phrasing specifically. And we're not even through the year yet. I think Xbox does care about hardware still. They still make Surface and such. They are still going to make hardware. But I do wonder how many games are going to be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem going forward, because it's very clear that they're making tons of money by releasing games everywhere. Let's continue on though. Let's hear what they had to say. Nadella said the company also set Q3 records for game streaming hours, console usage, and monthly active devices, pointing to the success of Activision Blizzard titles like Diablo 4 and Call of Duty as a cause for optimism. So while their hardware is not selling as well as they would like, obviously, they're setting records for how many monthly active users they have. It's crazy. Yes, Tommy, you said that like 5 times. Why do you keep saying it? I saw it the first 3 times. Last month, we added our first Activision Blizzard title, Diablo 4, to our Game Pass service. Subscribers played over 10 million hours within the first 10 days, making it one of our biggest first-party Game Pass launches ever, he added. We've also been encouraged by the ongoing success of Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 3, which is attracting new gamers and retaining franchise loyalists. So everything except for the console sales is a massive win for them. Largely because of two things. Activision games being multi-platform and that revenue coming from their competitors, basically. They're making money hand over fist from keeping those games everywhere. And the other thing is releasing games on competing platforms, releasing old games on competing platforms like PlayStation. So if they're going to experiment, if they're going to experiment, if they're going to try it out, I think the test results are pretty clear. You're going to make a lot of money when you release your games on other platforms, which is really interesting. Let me see here. So here was Tom Warren's breakdown. Microsoft's Q3 2024 fiscal earnings. Windows up 11%, devices revenue down 17%, gaming revenue up 51%, Xbox content and services revenue up 62%, and hardware is down 31%. That's the quick TLDR. But Derek Strickland did his thing, and he made some really, really cool graphs here. So let's get this lined up. Xbox earnings are now up for Q3 24 period January to March of 2024. Here's what you need to know. And remember, there haven't been a ton of Xbox exclusives. There's not like a ton of Xbox stuff going on. This is for January to March. What big things have hit for Xbox besides Palworld from January to March? Not a ton, right? So these numbers are astronomical because they haven't really had a ton, unless I'm forgetting something. Here's what you need to know. Xbox's gaming generated $5.451 billion in Q3 24, up 62% from last year. That's a new all-time high for a Q3 period, which is to be expected thanks to Activision Blizzard King's revenue. So they've shattered their revenue goals. They're like, you can see here, obviously this is where they were, this is where they are currently, but hugely up after their purchase is now fully integrated with their statistics. In 3 quarters, Xbox has now beaten all previous full year revenue milestones. Xbox has made $16.481 billion combined across Q1 to Q3 so far, and could reach $20 billion in annual fiscal revenue for the first time in history. So for the rest of the year, there is April, May, June. There is at least one title within that window. We know Hellblade 2 is coming out. That might move the needle a little bit. I don't think there's anything else major from Xbox within that window, but correct me if I'm wrong, chat. So they've already broken all their records. They're basically going to be setting the new normal for the next year. I think it's going to be really interesting. Sony already did their report not that long ago, and their numbers were good. I remember they had to cut the forecast of their console sales, though. Brad Sam said, if you remove Activision Blizzard, Xbox is stagnant. I think I would agree with that assessment. They haven't really moved. They're just sort of remaining where they have been. That's problematic. You definitely want to see growth within your brand, but I have to imagine that's a big reason why they bought Activision Blizzard. Derek Strickland continues on. Software and services made $5.45 billion and accounted for a whopping 92% of total Q3 Xbox gaming revenues. Seems good. Here's that ratio shown in percentage form. Black is content and services, green is hardware. Wow. This is a really interesting visualization. So This is their content and services. Like, this is where they're making money. Hardware made 429 million in Q3, making it the lowest ever period in the Gen 9 Xbox Series timeline. I am curious, why do you think hardware across the board, like everybody seems to be slashing their hardware predictions? Why do you think hardware is seeing such a brutal time period of stagnation, to use a word that chat just used? I think it's because people just don't really want to buy hardware, especially when you can access games on a computer. I think a lot of people, especially during COVID, I know we're kind of past COVID at this point, but I think a lot of people purchased hardware during COVID that can play games. So like, why do I need to buy the box? Handheld incoming in Xbox and MetaQuest 3 VR collaboration. How will they change the gaming landscape? How will that change the gaming landscape, if any? Shadow, I'm not sure. I don't have an answer to your question. I think Xbox is doing... Where's my little board? Xbox is doing very unexpected things. I think that in 2 years, consumer behavior has changed so drastically. Shadow. You got the board started, Shadow. Thank you. Yeah, I think the way things work has changed so drastically for the gaming landscape that Sony is trying to figure it out. There's my blue one. Sony is trying to figure it out. Xbox is trying to figure it out. Everybody is adjusting their strategies. PlayStation is releasing more and more on PC to make up that revenue lost. And yeah, I just, as a fan of Xbox, I would be very concerned about the fact that they have stagnated in terms of growth. Inflation is through the roof. This weakens buying power for the consumer. People are working more and playing less post-pandemic. I would agree with that, Ice. You know what I've been playing? I've been playing World of Warcraft Classic. And I have so many questions. Summer Showcase seems like it's going to be insane. I mean, that would be great. You guys can just drive the show if you keep doing all these tips back to back. Thank you. I think the Summer Showcase would be great. We have ID at Xbox like tomorrow. That's being hosted over at IGN, so definitely check that out. I actually produced the last one. This new one's being, I believe Brian Malkowitz is the exec producer on this one. Definitely check it out. Brian's great. Brian's awesome. And he's a big Xbox fan. So I'm very excited to see him take the reins and exec produce the ID at Xbox Showcase. So with the Activision purchase, they've already made more revenue than they've ever made ever before. And for the next year, they're going to be establishing the new normal. The question will be next year, this time, will Xbox have seen growth or will they start to lose revenue? Because we're looking at January through March right now and where they're at currently. A lot of that revenue is coming from games that came out in the holiday season in the previous quarter. I don't understand how the quarters work. For some reason, Q2 is October, November, December, and Q3 is January, February, March. So Q4 is April, May, June, and then Q1 starts in July. What is happening? Why isn't Q1 January, February? I'm sure some financial person could explain it to me, but it's very confusing to me. Let's see what else Derek Strickland had to say about all this. I put this together to illustrate how Xbox hardware revenues. Okay, Q3 is the lowest point in the series generation with 429 million from Xbox hardware. So this was when it launched, 1.53. We saw some spikes here. In Q2 financial year 2022, they had a big spike. That's interesting. Look at that. It's like every 4 quarters, they see this big spike in hardware. It makes no sense. And I mean, it's low. It is bad. But what is up with this Q2? Like, yes, it's down. It's up and then it's down. Q3 is the lowest point in the Xbox Series generation with 429 million from Xbox hardware. The hardware situation is dire. It seems very, very strange. Holiday season, that's right. You're absolutely right. Q2 would be holiday season. Yep. Q2. You nailed it. Cult Juice over on Twitch nailed it. It's the holiday season. It's the holiday season bump. And then in January, especially this year, no one's really looking to buy hardware, I don't think. And that was it. Wow. So, while I think Xbox will continue making hardware for Xbox fans, I think when we sit here and we look at the numbers, maybe it makes a little bit more sense to everybody why Xbox is diversifying their strategy a little bit more. Hardware is flatlined. And I've talked about this a lot, how like nothing's outsold the PS2. And I think PlayStation is going to run into the same problem. I don't think the Nintendo Switch is going to outsell the PS2 because they updated the PS2 numbers recently to be, I think it was 160 million sold. So there's all of that to be considered. And I do wonder, like, what does the next generation look like? Yes, you need that new hardware, but how would you move consoles if you're on an Xbox? I think, well, I don't really know the answer to that question, Nine Lives, but for me, I would definitely be looking hard at the handheld market. We know that the Steam Deck sold 4 million units already. And to compare, that's pretty good. How long has the Steam Deck been out? A year or two? People don't care as much as we do about like the best and the prettiest graphics in the world. A lot of people are like, is the gameplay good? Can I play this on my lower powered device? If I can, then I'm good. I don't have a lot of reason to upgrade. And games are getting more, well, some games are getting more optimized these days. So that means that players are able to play on less powerful hardware and they can have a good time. So if the gameplay is good, then I think that gameplay is king, right? Gameplay is king. So that's why software and services are exploding, because people can play wherever they want. You can even use cloud streaming and play on your mobile device. Robert Serrano posted this little thing. Xbox revenue, gaming, 51%, content and services, 62%, hardware, 31%. But these are such insane growth numbers that they almost canceled this negative 31% out. I mean, like, it's notable and concerning for Microsoft to see that their hardware is down. And they think it's going to go down more from this point. Or at least year over year, it's going to be down again, probably 30%. But that's nuts. That means that content and services and their gaming is carrying this massive L. Think about that. So they're making enough money through the Activision purchase to carry this massive hardware deficit. More personal computing highlights. Windows OEM revenue grew. Windows Commercial grew. Device revenue declined. And they also talked about some of their other devices that were down also. Search and news advertising is up. Hey, Destin, don't you think Microsoft is actually competing a lot more with Steam nowadays because Steam has a handheld and Xbox is looking to make one? I would actually agree with that, Anonymous. I do think that they are, I wouldn't say competing because I don't think Steam cares. I don't think Steam particularly cares about Xbox entering to the market, because what's likely going to happen is, well, hopefully, Xbox actually has Steam on their handheld device. And Gabe Newell is just kind of like, yeah, do whatever you want. Like, we don't care. They've created a situation where they win, period. If you sell a game on Steam, they get 30%, I think is the number. And it's been like that forever. So if Xbox launches a handheld and Steam is an app that you can launch on that handheld, I don't think Steam would have a hell of a lot of an issue with that. It's like Windows 11 allows you to install Steam. Sure, they want you to like use Xbox by default. But if you were allowed to download a Steam app via the store and then download your whole Steam library, plus you have your Game Pass library, like maybe, and your Epic Games library, if you happen to have any games on there, like I think it's a very, very compelling sell. And I would be very curious to see how an Xbox handheld would do. I think it is a very, very smart play. Xbox beats all previous full year earnings in just 3 quarters, could break 20 billion by June. Yeah. In 3 quarters, they broke all the records. And here's a real quick breakdown from The Verge. The software maker made 61.9 billion in revenue and a net income of 21.9 billion during Q3. Revenue is up 17% and net income is increased by 20%. You're talking about a $3 trillion company. Everybody keeps laser focusing in on the fact that they purchased Activision for $70 billion. Their revenue is up. They're a $3 trillion company and their revenue's up. So it would seem to me like Microsoft's doing pretty good. Let's see what other stock's doing. Stock's weird. The stock market's been weird lately. So let's look at their 5-year. No, I'm no stock master or anything. Let me just do this thing. But it seems like it's up 215.2. It's up 215%. In 5 years, it's up 215% for Microsoft. Thank you for the gifted, Brett. Put you down on the board. Yeah, content is king cult over on Twitch. Thank you, Brett. And Sony, I think they trade on a different market. Let's look at their 5-year. Sony, also no slouch in the stock department. They're up 57%. So both are up. There looks like everybody like this is here's what I think happened with stocks and everything like that. This is normal. COVID, everybody like lost their minds and everything just went crazy. And now everything's returning to sort of normal. Like if you look in 2020, they were trading 82 and now what were they trading at? 70. And now they're trading 82. I think the market is just resetting to like the reality. But when you look at it from like, oh, wow, you were at 126.40 in 2021 and now you're at 82. The sky is falling, right? That's a $40 dip. That's huge. So it just sort of depends on it. Like obviously COVID screwed the world up for a bit. And now I feel like everything is sort of resetting to some sort of normalcy. So beyond all that, there were 2, maybe 3 other stories to talk about. Let me just bring up something on Twitter. I forgot to bring this up earlier. What did he say here? He said something. Daniel Ahmad said something about how Xbox. Yeah. So here's what Daniel Ahmad said about it. The elephant in the room here is that if you exclude Activision Blizzard from this quarter, Xbox gaming revenue is down 5% year over year with no software and services growth and a sharp hardware revenue decline. In other words, you can see why Microsoft sees M&A as essential for growth. One of the larger talking points recently has been hardware decline, which is a legitimate point to make, but I think it misunderstands Xbox's current strategy. The entire M&A push over the past few years has been driven by a need for consistent releases on Game Pass, and the expansion to PC Cloud and other consoles has been driven by a need to expand beyond a console base that already lagged its competitors. This doesn't mean Xbox should or would stop releasing new hardware, but it does mean that Xbox's challenge going forward is being able to successfully offset any decline in Xbox hardware with increased spend on software and services. The Activision Blizzard acquisition goes towards achieving that, and it's why gaming revenue is still up more than 50% year over year despite the hardware decline. We'll have a better idea of how Xbox is doing next year after the impact of Activision Blizzard is fully baked in. It's exactly what I said. Taichi says we need to change in Xbox leadership. No, we don't. Look, like it or not, the market has decided that they don't want the Xbox console as much as they want the PlayStation console. That's a free and open market. That is what has happened. And Xbox is dealing with that reality through acquisitions. They purchased Activision, they purchased Blizzard because their play is services. And we just went through all the financials where we discussed how software and services are way up and gaming is way up. Well, hardware is down. So they saw a negative 5%, which is much less of an owie than a negative 30%. And Daniel Ahmad is an analyst, like at one of the top firms. I interviewed him for my Xbox piece about how they're not the only one rethinking hardware. Everybody is reconsidering hardware and how they distribute their properties in new, interesting ways. So Tai Chi, thank you. And thank you to William for 2. Remember, PlayStation lost 20 billion market share when ABK happened. I don't think they lost because of that, but they lost a lot of money. There was a lot of hubbub about all that stuff. Now, in addition to all of things, I wouldn't say celebrate anything. Sofa King, I'm glad to see you again. I seriously have to ask you if you were the one that stole all my stuff in Enshrouded. Did you? Or was it one of the other randos that joined our server that day? I couldn't bring myself to play the game anymore after that. I was just like, I literally just lost all my loot. Like, it would take 10 hours. Goji, good to see you over on Twitch. No, yeah, somebody stole everything. And I don't remember who else rolled in with us, but yeah. I'm also excited about Final Shape. There was one other update that I think is significant, and I think it's timely. An update on this year's BlizzCon and Blizzard's 2024 live events. After careful consideration over the last year, we at Blizzard have made the decision not to hold BlizzCon in 2024. This decision was not made lightly, as BlizzCon remains a very special event for all of us, and we know many of you look forward to it. While we're approaching this year differently, and as we have explored different event formats in the past, rest assured that we are just as excited as ever to bring BlizzCon back in future years. Over the next few months, we'll be sharing more details about our launches coming later this year, including World of Warcraft, The War Within, and Diablo 4's first expansion, Vessel of Hatred. To celebrate these upcoming releases and to bring our communities together in new and special ways, we will soon share some exciting plans for other industry trade shows and conventions like Gamescom. You got to remember, Blizzard, Activision, it's all part of Microsoft now. So they have more opportunities to showcase what they're working on in smaller venues, as opposed to doing this fan-facing event like BlizzCon. I think this is a smart year not to do it. There's not Diablo 4 isn't doing gangbusters. The WoW updates haven't like taken the internet by storm, at least what I've seen. Like, people are into it, but they're not like super into it like they normally are. And Anon says, whatever Destiny is going live, I simply click it and go ahead and like it at the speed of light. Great work. Oh, thanks, Anon. I really appreciate that. Blizzard has been weird lately, for lack of a better term. Diablo 4 didn't take the internet by storm. Overwatch is in shambles. What are the Overwatch numbers? I feel like every asset that I see come out for Overwatch, it's massively downvoted. People aren't excited for it. Same thing for Diablo. Diablo 4 just feels like it's nickel and diming people, and I think there's been a big negative reaction towards that. World of Warcraft has sustained, but obviously player growth is lower. I think it is the smart year to skip. They were just purchased by Microsoft, and I remember seeing a story where Blizzard. Let me see if I can find it, because they commented on this recently. Yeah. Okay, here we go. It was a week ago. World of Warcraft exec says Microsoft has let Blizzard be Blizzard since acquisition. There's no one asking us to do anything. Now, I do think that's somewhat problematic, but this was a very positive article about how the acquisition has had a positive impact on Activision Blizzard. And I remember checking this out and thinking, good, that's great. Speaking with, okay, it was a VGC reporter recently. I like to go to whoever reported it originally. Microsoft has let Blizzard be Blizzard following its acquisition, studio says. The World of Warcraft developer was acquired by the Xbox maker last year. Microsoft has let Blizzard be Blizzard following its... Okay, yeah, you already said that. If anything, it's just been helpful, Longdale said. We got time with Helen Chang from Mojang, and we were sharing information, so it's almost as if we have access to what worked for them. We got to speak to the Elder Scrolls Online team and share what we're up to and what's been working. It's almost like we get a benefit. There's no one asking us to do anything, she continued. World of Warcraft is doing very well, and they're very proud of what it's been able to accomplish. So it's almost like just let it be and let it keep being awesome. They've been tremendously supportive, and it's like let Blizzard be Blizzard. That does give me a lot of hope about the future of Blizzard. I think for a long time, Blizzard has been making odd decisions. The Overwatch decisions to the fact that Overwatch 2 exists was a huge mistake. Overwatch 2 is the stupidest idea I've ever seen a company do. You had a winning formula with the original Overwatch. Everybody was talking about it. It was like a game of the year contender. And they're like, oh, we're going to do Overwatch 2 and we're introducing all this stuff that you don't really want. And we're going to do the story stuff later. And then we're going to scrap that. So you're not actually going to get any of the cool stuff that you were hyped about. Do you remember when do you remember when Overwatch 1 launched and they were doing all these amazing character vignettes? I didn't know anything about Overwatch, and I was like watching those. I played the robot when I played that game back in the day, and it has been very strange to see them just like make all the wrong bets with Overwatch. And basically, I think Overwatch is done. There's not going to be an Overwatch 3. I don't know how Overwatch comes back. It just, to me, and this is an outsider perspective, I think Overwatch is a dead game. And I know that's like the Destiny joke, right? But like, how many people in chat, do you play Overwatch? Does anybody in chat play Overwatch regularly? Like in the last week, have you played Overwatch? Anybody just type yes. Matthew played Overwatch. Never played it once. We have people in chat who played Overwatch this last week. Is it fun? Did you have fun playing Overwatch? Kachi. Okay. Is it healthy? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like way off base here. It just feels like the game is not what it once was or what it once could be. The whole esports around it crumbled. Like that whole branch of gaming kind of just like fell away. Kachi says it's fun for me. So there are people playing it. Well, I mean, like, maybe my perception's incorrect. Or maybe I just like don't want to play that game, but I feel like Overwatch 2 has had an overall net negative impact to the Overwatch brand. And Diablo 4, I don't know what you do about Diablo 4. I think you need a season that like drastically revamps the game, fixes all the quality of life issues, like figure out a new way to do things. You can't just keep they've been doing the seasonal model since Diablo 3. So, yeah. Taichi, I think they said that the COD stuff would be coming later this year. So I would expect an announcement for later this year. It's like Destiny 2. It's another love and hate game. I still play Destiny, and Destiny's in a pretty good spot right now, especially with the updates. I got totally distracted about Blizzard. Over the next few months, we'll be sharing more details about our launches coming later this year, including World of Warcraft, The World Within, and Diablo 4's first expansion, Vessel of Hatred. To celebrate these upcoming releases and to bring our communities together in new and special ways, we will soon share some exciting plans for other industry trade shows and conventions like Gamescom. We can't wait to tell you more about those plans soon. We're also looking forward to the Overwatch Champions Series stops at both DreamHack Dallas and DreamHack Stockholm. And we're thrilled to be planning multiple global in-person events to commemorate the 30th anniversary of Warcraft, which will be held in addition to the in-game celebrations across our Warcraft games throughout 2024. While these events are distinct from BlizzCon, we're harnessing all of our creativity and imagination to ensure that they carry the same spirit of celebration and togetherness. Our hope is that these experiences, alongside several live streamed industry events, where we'll keep you up to date with what's happening in our game universes, will capture the essence of what makes Blizzard's community so special. No matter how you choose to connect with us at these events this year, whether it be in person or virtually, we can't wait to see you there. I'm so glad they're not doing BlizzCon this year. I don't think it needs to be an every year thing. I think they should do it next year. Celebrate the 30 years at next year's event in 2025. Talk about whatever has happened in the last year with Diablo 4. Talk about what the cool next thing is for World of Warcraft. I think that's the right move. Speaking of Blizzard games, I actually play a lot of Blizzard games. I played Diablo Immortal, and I got to max rank in Diablo Immortal when it launched. I played Diablo 4, and I beat the campaign, and I was like, all right. I didn't really care about any of the storytelling, though. I just kind of rushed through it because I like the power. Like, you felt really powerful as a Sork in season 1, and then they just nerfed everything. But that was sort of fun for me, and it really got me interested in ARPGs. Like, I started playing Path of Exile. I got interested in Path of Exile 2. I played a little bit of, what was that one that kind of popped off and then died down? Last Epoch. That was really interesting. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. And more recently, you talk about how games are hard to get into these days. I started playing the original World of Warcraft. I have so many questions and I'm so lost. I told myself I would never play World of Warcraft. And I never played World of Warcraft. I'm playing World of Warcraft Classic. It's very different. And I kept a promise to myself about never playing World of Warcraft. How are you gauging the success of Diablo 4? Diablo 4 made their money. But if you look at, here, let's look at a few numbers. Let's see here. And then I'm bringing up some numbers here. People want to know how are you tracking Diablo 4 success? 6 months max. All right. I will say I'm a little bit surprised by some of these numbers. They're higher than I expected. If you look at Diablo 4 right now on Steam, something must be going on right now. Oh, they added the PTR. Sorry, Blast Off. I can't see your message. It's all blurry for some reason. Yeah, so 1.4K. That's good. And if you actually look on Steam, they recently did something where they added a PTR, and it seems to have had a positive impact. They went from 5K to 9.4K. So they are turning around sentiment. That's great. Yeah, and if you look at back in January when it came out on Steam, that's good. How's Path of Exile doing? 8.7K. So you got to remember, like, Path of Exile is super old game. It's still doing better than Diablo 4. But Diablo 4, to me, seems like they have actually finally begun to turn sentiment about the game. And that's good. I want Diablo 4 to be successful. But man, it took them a year to come back from that season 1 patch thing. And I'm still salty about it, if I'm being totally honest. It takes me a long time to get over stuff like that. Oh, I did all this time working on my Sorc. PoE is free. So Diablo 4 kind of is free because it's on Game Pass. So what have they changed? They added a PTR. They added it to Xbox Game Pass. And those are two things right there that definitely make it more enticing. And World of Warcraft, like, look, here, I'll show you guys. I actually got a subscription to World of Warcraft when I started playing. I started playing on Classic. And then somebody said, well, you can basically play Classic. And it's not that much different if you play on the Lich King Classic. It's a little different, like the wolves are infected, but they weren't infected in the first game. And there's a lot of stuff I just don't have context for. Point I'm trying to make is I play a lot of Blizzard games. I play a lot of Activision games. And it like makes sense that these games are doing well. And yes, I wanted to play through World of Warcraft as it originally was. But they're doing a lot of really weird stuff with World of Warcraft Classic. So like, I've never played it. So for me, it's so strange, right? So I started playing World of Warcraft Classic on the Classic server. And then I'm like, well, I remember back in the day when all this was happening, there was like Burning Crusade. So how do I play Burning Crusade? And there's like, oh, you can't. We added that to the game for like a year and it's gone. I'm like, all right, well, what about Lich King? Oh, you can play that for a month. Thanks, Lyric. You can play that for a month and then we're going to be taking it out of the game or something. Like, I don't know what happens when they do Cataclysm. Are they going to nuke Lich King? So like, do I have 1 month to play World of Warcraft before they nuke everything in May? It's just so weird. Like the whole reason people wanted Classic is so that they could play vanilla. And they're already getting rid of it. It's 15 a month. I play WoW at launch, so you can say I played Classic as well. Blast. Yeah, so anyway, that whole thing's a little bit strange. But Blizzard games, I'm a big fan. Other Xbox stuff happening. We have the ID at Xbox thing. This is actually happening tomorrow. So if you're watching me today, you should be able to see this tomorrow. No thanks. Oh my goodness. The ID at Xbox Digital Showcase will premiere April 29th at 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern. Get the latest updates on games like Vampire Survivors, Dungeons of Hinterberg, 33 Immortals, Lost Records, Bloom, and Rage, and more. If you miss out, IGN will have the IGN at Xbox Digital Showcase archived on their channel after the show concludes. I mean, I know I work at IGN, but I think ID at Xbox is one of the best programs that I've ever seen. Microsoft continues to support it. It'll be very easy for them not to. You know, Sony sort of does something like this, but Xbox does a whole show dedicated to ID, and I think it's great. They've long supported indies, and I think it's super cool that they're doing this whole showcase. Guessing they're removing expansions to then again bring it back on a loop treadmill. I mean, that would be interesting. At least I wouldn't miss out on it. It's weird also. So like, sorry, going back to WoW for a second. You have WoW Classic. Let me just show you what this looks like. Remember, I have no context as a WoW player. I have never played WoW. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am a very interesting target demographic, somebody that wanted to experience WoW like it was at launch. So when I go to play World of Warcraft, you have World of Warcraft Classic, WoW Classic, but then you have to install a separate client for World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King, and then they just have World of Warcraft. which is the current version of Warcraft that's available. And it's so confusing as a new player. So I started a character on Classic. I met this guy yesterday. He's like, hey, I'll help you out. Here's like 4 bags. Here's a bunch of stuff to like make your character better. And I was like, oh my God, thanks. And then today I sign on and I'm like, oh, okay. I can like play and continue on this character. By the way, going to the town for the first time, I think it's Stormwind or whatever. That was super cool. I know they have it during the intro cutscene or whatever, but like you kind of forget about it. So anyway, I'm playing on Classic and then I realized someone's like, well, you can just play on Lich King. So I went over to Lich King and I started leveling. Leveling's way faster. Some stuff has changed, like the wolves are infected for some reason. I don't really understand why or what's going on with that. So I'm just sort of playing and going with the flow. There's less confusion with the servers. It's just like you just join a server. There's not like seasonal and retail. So it's weird. But I like having this experience because for me, I'm like, in a lot of ways, World of Warcraft is dated in terms of design, but it is interesting to sort of go to this capsule and check it out. I'm going to stay subscribed for a month. It's a slow month for me games wise before Destiny 2 comes out with Final Shape. I'm going to be very interested in that. And I have a few projects in May that I have to focus on. But yeah, WoW, kind of cool. Honestly, WoW Classic isn't for new fans. Well, for me, it's fun because I get to see this capsule of time, but it's super freaking confusing. It's super confusing. And check this out. Matt Piscatella, just on going back to games for a second. Palworld, Helldivers 2, Manor Lords, 2024 is a year that is shaking up the traditional AAA gaming model in a huge way. Since yesterday's launch, Manor Lords has already sold over 1 million copies and hit a peak Steam concurrent player count of 170,000, highest ever for a city builder, or for other different games like whatever. Huge win. Huge win. Hi, Charles. Good to see you. And largely, so like, I am sort of curious. Is anybody watching right now upset that I haven't done a video in like 10 days? I'm trying to get like back into the flow. That's what this stream is. It's like, all right, you were sick last weekend. You've had a week off. Get your head back in the game and start playing, so to speak. To me, the only news that happened last week was the earnings. There's the Stellar Blade stuff about how they changed their outfit. I just don't give a shit about Stellar Blade. I don't care. So yeah. Oh, you want to know what I did though? I made a little garden bed for my wife. Yeah, Charles Johnson says, no, I'd rather have quality. Well, thank you. I was sad. We waited for your streams and like 8 of us were just talking and chat. Ah, Phil, I'm so sorry. I was last weekend. The reason I didn't stream last weekend, and at least the Sunday streams are pretty consistent. I was so sick, I couldn't get out of bed. I don't know what I got. I just got knocked on my butt for like 3-4 days. And then it took me time to like sort of get back into it. Like get back into the groove. Oh, the Embracer breakup happened. Yeah, I think that was notable. I really missed having a regular thing like the Xbox Activision news to talk to you guys about. I miss that. It was so easy to do. I felt like I was filling a gap for the audience where like, oh, I'm providing really interesting information that like, I don't see anybody talking about this way. And I've been sort of trying to figure out like, well, what do I do? Because that's done. It's over. There's not a thing like that I can do repeatable. So it's just like regular news and there's a lot of competition in the space. So I want to figure out how do I make my content mine beyond just doing the news. And when I do the news, people do seem to like it. So I've just been thinking about that. I've been talking to my wife about it. It's just like, she's like, well, what do you want to make? Like, what is it that you want to do? And I'm like, yeah, I've been sort of thinking, sorry, I'm just speaking my mind off the top of my head. What kind of stuff do people want to see? And I'm like, well, they like news. They probably would like an Xbox focused show, which is basically what I do here on Sunday. Yeah. Clay says, I need like 2 years of like the most insane revelations of the industry has ever seen. Yeah. And for me personally, my interviews do okay. They do good. They do best when they're Xbox focused. But the problem is, and there's actually a study about this where you hit a point where you've kind of interviewed everybody you want to interview. And I'm also like, this is a second thing from my main job. So like if I get Phil Spencer, where do you think that's going to go? Is Phil Spencer going to go on the Destin channel, or is that going to be an IGN thing? Obviously that would be an IGN thing. Right? So yeah. Tim Kaine about Fallout. I would love to talk to Tim Kaine. I am subscribed to Tim Kaine and I love his videos. I think they're very insightful. We don't get a lot of open dialogue like that from devs, and he's very open and candid. He seems nice. I really, really like it a lot. I like Tim Kaine a lot. That's everything that I had on like my show plan for today. Oh, Tarkov, the whole Tarkov situation. I like long format, less frequent videos, not short and often. Well, the live streams on Sunday is a planned repeatable format. I do plan on doing that regularly. Oh, Ackman just posted a new video. You know what? Ackman just posted a video. I said I'm out of content, but I actually find this to be really interesting. So let's film a little reacts, shall we?
Wow.
Okay. And this will probably be the last one of the day. Let me see. I hope my scene's set up. Okay, so this is Actman, and I got to turn off all the stuff here. Burp. Actman just posted a video saying, why are AAA games getting worse?
This new Star Wars Outlaws game looks pretty great.
That's pretty good.
You know what? Let's check out the official website and see if we can learn more about the... Good Lord, what is happening in there? Pre-order. Get 3 days early access. Pre-order. You want to pre-order the Season's Pass? And get 3 days early access. Pre-order. That's four pre-orders on one screen. Extend Kay's journey with 2 upcoming DLC.
Yeah, this whole thing, I talked about this last week. It's bullshit. I don't care what Ubisoft is saying about how, oh, the Hut stuff is included. It's absolute bullshit. All of it's nonsense. Something has happened with gaming where every game needs to be a game you live in. You can't just play a game for like 15 hours and move on with your life. I've been playing a lot of No Rest for the Wicked, and I like that game. I played for about 15 hours. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how the game works now. And I'm good. Like, and that's fine. I could continue on and like grind out through the end game, but I'd rather play something old. And I've seen a lot of videos about this lately. Like, people are going back to old games like I am with World of Warcraft. I want that purity of experience that we used to get. And I'm just looking for it, and I can't find it anywhere. I'm tired of the battle passes and the grinding and all this stuff that's happening. I just want to sign on, play a game, and then move on with my life. And WoW had that. And it's been really fun playing it again.
You want to play
for the first time.
Jabba's Fuckhouse? Pre-order. Unlock exclusive cosmetic.
Yeah.
Pre-order. Are you fucking pre-ordering yet? You know what's funny? If you go to the Arrowhead Games website and just look at it, there's something special about
Helldivers 2.
An Arrowhead game. Games should challenge the creativity of the individuals who play them. We want our games to help forge friendships. And look at that. Not even an advertisement for the Super Citizen Edition. I think this is a great way to illustrate what AAA gaming has become and what indie gaming has evolved into.
And you know what's really funny? We just saw Matt Piscatella tweet about how, you know, the gaming space right now is so different. everybody's playing all these indie games. Why? Because they're looking for that pure experience, like the one I'm talking about. No Rest for the Wicked just garnered a whole lot of interest because it's early access. And yes, there were some issues with performance and such at launch, but it wasn't trying to upsell me every turn. Helldivers 2 is just freaking awesome gameplay. And people love that. And then you got this Star Wars game that's just an example of how Ubisoft has fallen so far.
The difference in priorities is clear, and you might assume, Actman, that's just typical Ubisoft greed and shenanigans. But you're wrong. It's worse than that. What Ubisoft is doing with Star Wars Outlaws is
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
symptomatic of a much greater issue plaguing all of AAA gaming. Recently, Ubisoft dropped a story trailer for Outlaws. I watched it, and I felt apathy. As you know,
Apathy is death.
the gameplay reveal for Outlaws looked solid, but now I'm skeptical. Maybe it was the boring writing, the generic presentation, or the fact that they're directing people towards the $120 version of the game instead of the standard version.
Hello.
110.
I like money.
Still, I don't remember the last time I felt indifferent to a new Star Wars game. On the flip side, one of my buddies sent me a trailer for a game called Kingmakers. I've never heard
Oh,
of the
yeah.
franchise.
Kingmakers is the one where like you're a time traveling guy and you show up in your truck. Yeah, like honestly, if a new Halo was announced, I don't know how hype I would be right now. And I don't know what you do about that. The next Gears, everyone's like, "Oh, we need a new Gears." It's like Gears 6. I'm sure it's going to look great. I'm sure it's going to be awesome and be a fun game, but am I going to be hyped for it? I don't know. Something like, I don't know, something weird is happening right now. And I'm obviously not the only one feeling this way when something like Helldivers 2 comes out of nowhere and everybody like loses their mind.
Nor the studio behind it, but let's
Oh, I lost audio.
check it out. Never heard of this franchise nor the studio behind it, but let's check it out. What the fuck is this?
Well, I lost audio, so
Oh my
y'all can hear it, but I can't. Let me see. Let me try something here.
god!
Oh boy. Fun stuff. So we are 2 minutes-ish.
Hello. I like money.
Still, I don't remember the last time I felt indifferent to
So I have this really, really annoying problem with this headset where it'll just stop working randomly. And I don't know why.
a new Star Wars game. On the flip
Still
side,
not
one of my
back.
buddies
All right, let me see if plugging it in does anything. No, that's not going to do anything. I gotta like resync it. Sorry, buddy.
sent me a trailer for a game called to a new Star Wars game.
Why?
On the flip side, one of my buddies sent me a trailer for a game called Kingmakers. I've never heard of this franchise.
Gone.
Nor the
I know you
studio
can hear
behind
it, but-
let's check it out.
I need to be able to hear it.
What the fuck is this? Oh my god!
Let me just change this.
It's a fucking Chevy truck in the. Oh, we're giving shotguns? How can the engine handle this many guys on
Yeah.
screen? It's like Mountain Blade plus Dynasty Warriors with time travel? Oh, grenades? Oh my god, and they have RTS
nothing.
mechanics? No shot, no shot. It can't get any crazy. And helicopters too? Here's the question of the day. Why, as a huge Star Wars fan, am I more excited for this and not this? Well, the answer is obvious. It's Ubisoft. But like I said, AAA gaming has been in decline for some time. Meanwhile, indie games
I gotta
have
break
become a
everything.
spawning
Sorry,
pool for
buddy.
creativity and imagination. You may have seen the plethora of AAA gaming is dead videos spring up on YouTube. Well, AAA gaming didn't just die.
Sometimes this works, or it crashes my computer. We'll see.
Disillusioned and apathetic towards recent AAA titles. But a lot of people focus on how AAA games have gotten worse. They highlight the obvious: excessive monetization, unfinished products being released. I can't masturbate to this character. And while these are all issues worth pointing out, we need to understand.
Oh yeah, look at that. My camera broke. Oh my God, you guys. And we're back. Hi, everybody. Sorry about all that. So we were at 2 minutes in. Y'all are going to have to put up with me for a little bit. Back to the reacts. Okay, Reza. Whatever, bro. That's what you came in here? Oh, stop breaking stuff. Yeah. All right. So he's talking about Kingmakers. I agree. I thought this was interesting.
I've never heard of this franchise nor the studio behind it, but let's check it out. What the fuck is this? Oh my God! This is a fucking Chevy truck in the... Oh, we're using shotguns? How can the engine handle this many guys on screen? This is like Mountain Blade plus Dynasty Warriors with time travel? Oh, grenades? Oh my God, and they have RTS mechanics? No shot, no shot. It can't get any crazy. And helicopters too? Here's the question of the day. Why, as a huge Star Wars fan, am I more excited for this and not this? Well, the answer is obvious. It's Ubisoft. But like I said, AAA gaming has been in decline for some time.
Here's my theory on this. I have talked about this a lot on the channel. The problem with AAA gaming these days is that the executives have been running the ship. They want to maximize profit. They don't care about doing anything particularly interesting with the gameplay design. And I just feel like it's just totally lost the plot. There are franchises out there that make a great game and they utilize a property like Spider-Man as an example and make a lot of money. But Ubisoft making a Star Wars game, it's a little, I don't know. It just doesn't do anything. I think it looks okay. That's like the most hype I can muster for the new Star Wars game.
Meanwhile, indie games have become a spawning pool for creativity and imagination. You may have seen the plethora of AAA gaming is dead videos spring up on YouTube. Well, AAA gaming didn't just die. It was murdered. If you got that reference, welcome back to 2017 YouTube. Clearly, I'm not the only one who has felt disillusioned and apathetic towards...
Yeah. Obviously, like, I've made videos about this, about how, like, even the state that your games launch in modern day, they launch almost broken, and then there's either a day zero patch or, like, they fix it weeks after the game is launched. It's insane. And I think people are just like, we're fucking done. Like, we're just not going to buy your games anymore. Don't pre-order games. Stop doing this stuff. Like, look at Skull and Bones. Let's look at how Skull and Bones is doing. Is that even on Steam? I can't find it. Skull and Bones. It's not on Steam. Yeah, it's on Steam. No, it's not on Steam. All right, so you can't check numbers, but I have to imagine the Skull and Bones player numbers are down, right? Yeah, Skull and Bones came out, and it's just like that. No, don't bring back Crunch.
Recent AAA titles. But a lot of people focus on how AAA games have gotten worse. They highlight the obvious: excessive monetization, unfinished products being released. I can't masturbate to this character. And while these are all issues worth pointing out, we need to understand
maybe
why
not the
these
last
things are
one
happening. The bigger picture. You see, the reality is AAA games have become far too safe, formulaic, predictable, and just unexciting. Perhaps it's because you're an old jaded nerd, Actman. No, that couldn't possibly be it.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the...
I do wonder, like, what do not 42-year-old guys who are like what do the 21-year-old gamers think about gaming right now? Are they like, this is awesome, I love everything about gaming? Or are they just like, I'll just play on my phone, I don't even care? Because I think a lot of us, like, is there anybody younger in chat? Like anybody from like, I don't know, 16 to 23 in chat? I am curious what your perspective would be. So backup's 24. That's a pretty close age. What do you think about gaming? Like, are you super into a lot of these games, or like, are you discovering all the old games? What do you think about it? My little brother's 22. He hates current gen. Yeah, gaming just felt more pure when I was like Donkey Kong Country, Killer Instinct. Like there were weird things. Minecraft. Yeah. No, my demo is actually 30 to 50, 30 to 50-year-olds. That's why I was like, is there anybody younger in chat? Because I am sort of curious about their perception about the current gaming landscape, like in the games they play.
The children who are wrong.
That's what we're going to explore today. The decline of AAA gaming and the rise of indie. Why has AAA gaming gotten so bad? Now, first off, what the fuck does AAA actually mean? The Advanced Aardvark Association? Because I'd love to join that club.
Well, let me answer his question before he defines it for us. I would say AAA gaming is any game made by $1 billion company. So any Sony published game or developed / published. I would say any Microsoft game, any, what did I say? Ubisoft, Sony, Microsoft. Who's another big AAA? Sega, Capcom. Capcom actually just did Dragon's Dogma 2 and it was pretty good. Capcom's actually been on a huge winning spree lately, by the way. Yeah. So Capcom's been doing great. All of those I would consider AAA. Anybody that has billions of dollars throw at a project. Yeah.
No, instead you should join my public Discord server, the Act Clan. Links in the pinned comment and in the little card up here. But the acronym originally referred to large budget, high profile games developed by reputable studios released by major publishers. You know, Halo, Call of Duty,
yeah,
Warcraft, The Witcher, 50 Cent Bulletproof, Cory in the House. Games that would shake the very foundation of the world.
Yeah.
AAA games typically have large teams, expensive marketing campaigns, and copious amounts of funding. The term was taken from the credit industry and applied to gaming once the severely obese corporate fat cats realized video games weren't a joke of a business and could actually make more money than Hollywood.
And here's the thing, and that's the exact problem. I think executives have gotten to the point where they care just about making profit margin. And that's all they care about. They don't care about like the sanctity of design. They're just like, how do we market this? There's half of the budget is towards marketing. It's like 150 for marketing and 150 million for the actual making of the game. They're like, oh, our game budgets are out of control. Yeah. Do you think you could not spend $150 million on marketing? Maybe that's a small part of it. Maybe instead of spending 150 million, you could take like 50 million of that and put it back to the game development process. And there's a great video out there right now about how modern World of Warcraft, for a new player experience, it's just like you don't even get to play the game for like hours. It's just shoving tutorials in your face. And it's just not a fun experience. Versus I'm playing WoW Classic right now and it's great. I'm like, oh, go kill the boars. I kill the boars. Oh, I'm dying. I guess I need to get some better gear. I go buy some better gear. It like just organically teaches you how to do it. I don't need a freaking tutorial that you punch the guy. There's so much about WoW Vanilla that I'm just like having a good time with. And yeah, anyway, let's continue on.
For business moguls, AAA meant this is the safest investment you can make to get a return.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. Today, AAA mostly indicates the aspirations and cost of a game, not how safe an investment it is. From the 80s to the 2000s, there weren't many games that were commercial failures. It was mostly like failed consoles. That's a good video to watch. But since the 2010s, as AAA gaming budgets have grown exponentially, we've seen some big-ass flops. Marvel's Avengers, Suicide Squad, Anthem, Redfall, Aliens, Colonial Marines. And in the last 7 or so...
Man, Anthem was such a cool concept. man, I liked Anthem. I just wish it had more meat. The story was like whatever, and it was just a mess.
Years, it also seems like many popular franchises have released what fans consider to be the worst entry in said franchise. Fallout 76,
Yeah.
Battlefield 2042, Mass Effect Andromeda. Maybe this is
Somebody said Mass Effect Andromeda is good. Mass Effect Andromeda sucks. I'm sorry, like I think there's positives about it, like with the voice actors did a good job and everything with the characters, but the writing is just so forgettable. I don't remember anything about Andromeda like that I care about. Your dad dies, there's an alien, you go kill the alien, the Quarians are coming. That's what I remember about Andromeda. It sucked. There was no mission in Andromeda where I'm like, man, that was such a good freaking mission. That was so cool. None of it paid off. None of it was interesting. Like, it was a stinker. It was a stinker. People do like 76 now. He made a joke in his video about it.
all just a coincidence.
But as one trained in the Force, you know that true coincidences are rare.
So what gives? Why have things changed? Well, one of the driving factors behind the decline of AAA games is they've gotten too big. The pants do not fit anymore.
Absolutely agree. They try and put so much shit in these games. And like sometimes it's at odds with itself. Absolutely agree with what he's saying there. So basically, they make games and they're like, oh, the game has to be 300 hours long. And what does that mean for you as the player? It means grindy, repetitive, hand-holdy missions, maybe an escort mission. Oh, we got to have the boss battles in there because our marketing team says we need really cool boss battles. And it's just like, you don't need to do that. It doesn't need to be 300 hours. You can make a 10-hour game, sell it at a fair price, and make money. I think that's what they're going to do with Hellblade 2. Like, you don't need to be spending this much money on your games. You just don't. Just make a good game. Just make a good game. Tell the story you want to tell. Don't pad me out with a bunch of grindy BS. Don't like shoehorn me so I have to sign on every week to play the story. And the biggest problem I have with Destiny is like none of it has tied together. None of the story means anything. Like I don't even care about the story in Destiny anymore. I want to finish the Light and Darkness saga and I'm like done after that. That's how I sort of feel about it, right? So absolutely agree games are too big. They don't need to be like that.
For reference, vanilla World of Warcraft was made by a team of about 40 people.
Wow.
Helldivers 2 was made by a team of 100. Over 9,000 people contributed to Diablo 4.
What, 9,000?
Starfield, 7 years in development, $200 million budget, 1,700 planets to explore. Todd, you think maybe we could tone that number of planets down to like 30 or maybe 10? 10 really good planets?
The gamers desire 1,700 planets.
What if Starfield was just like the original Mass Effect, but all of those planets were superbly designed with like interesting things to see and handcrafted as opposed to just a bunch of BS. Don't do that.
AAA games have exploded in size, scope, and cost to an unprecedented level. On one hand, a larger team has the potential to create something truly incredible, revolutionary,
Yeah.
and realize their greatest ambitions. But this relies on having a cohesive vision amongst many people
Yep.
and the budget and resources to make it happen. However, the more ambitious a project, the more money invested into it, the riskier it becomes. Immortals of Avium, a game you probably never heard of, was the debut title for Ascendant Studios. And for some inexplicable reason, the game was given a budget of 125 million smackaroos, making it one of the most expensive video games ever made. What the fuck? Immortals sold poorly, and Ascendant, after releasing their first title, had to lay off almost half of their staff. 6 months later, the remaining employees were furloughed.
Clay pointed out Mass Effect 1 is a lot of copy and pasting and boring planets. He's absolutely right. But what happens on those planets? I would say there's a lot of filler in that game, but I would also have to say that in Mass Effect 1, there are some planets where you go and there is like a freaking awesome storyline that you would have missed. So like you get like 2 duds where it's just kind of like going and you mine some resources, but then you get one where you like meet your mom after you complete the mission, or you meet like somebody that you went to war with and you have to help them through their PTSD. Like it's, yeah, Mass Effect is really, really special. And obviously you can modernize and fix a lot of the issues the original Mass Effect had, like they did by 3, I would say. I would say 2 actually is about as close to perfection as you can get. The only thing I don't like about 2 is how it ended. That's the only thing I don't like about 2. Everything else about 2 is really, really strong.
A fancy word for maybe you have a job, IDK, and the company's future is uncertain. Sometimes memes can spit truth. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Like this meme has been going around, but we need more $40 games. Stop making these huge games. Pal World, hugely successful, made by a small team for like a fraction of the budget of AAA games. Helldivers, and Helldivers just has a great gameplay loop.
Immortals of Avium is a mistake that shouldn't have happened, and it's the exact type of reason why AAA publishers are sticking with familiar IPs and playing it safe. You guys excited for Call of Duty 26 to come out later this year?
Yeah.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall. But why was Immortals, this random game, bloated with such a ridiculous budget and high...
Here's my thing about Immortals. I think the name is terrible. I think the main protagonist like is not memorable or interesting in any way. I have no desire to ever play Immortals of Avium. I don't think the main character looks cool. Like design wise, I don't think he's very interesting. I don't think there's anything about the game that draws in my interest. The combat just sort of, okay, it's a first person shooter, but it doesn't like do anything all that cool. I don't know. Immortals just like bad title, bad protagonist, bad narrative, hook from the trailers. It just did nothing. And obviously a lot of people felt that way.
Expectations. Well, COVID-19 changed a lot of things. People bought a shitload of video games during that time, and some upper management folk adjusted their business. They saw this as an opportunity to invest. So they expanded operations, hired more employees, but of course, the video game sales caused by the pandemic didn't last. And we're now seeing the fallout.
Yeah, like if instead of Immortals of Avium, it was like Albion. You get near the top of the shelves on the store, or at least you're closer to the top of the store, like Immortals of Avium. Even just calling it Avium would have been more interesting than Immortals of Avium. And like your main character design stinks. Like, I don't mean to be so callous. Like obviously a designer worked on that. They concepted it out. He's boring and not memorable at all. Meanwhile, you got Stellar Blade here. And like, yes, I know there's the whole conversation about like sexuality or whatever, but people are talking about it. At least they're talking about it.
Out of that overexpansion. Fallout New Vegas. 10,000 layoffs in 2023 and 8,000 more on the way. Over 30 studios were shut down. Several games canceled. The hubris from corporate overlords has uprooted this industry in such terrible ways. Overloading teams with talented employees and a shit zillion dollars isn't some magical recipe for success. In fact, it puts the studio in a much more dire, stressful position, because if the game doesn't sell well, they're fucked. Blockbuster game development costs are out of control.
300 million.
According to a study by the CMA, a single AAA game could have development costs between $90 to $180 million, plus $50 to $150 million for marketing. That Suicide Squad game that
50 to 150 million for marketing. That's nuts. How is marketing that expensive? It's literally more than the game costs to make.
200 people are playing.
You know, people talk about how like game development costs are out of control. Okay. If it costs $150 million to make a game, why in the F does it cost $150 million to market it? That's nuts. You're telling me a game made over 7 years cost you $150 million, but you need to double that and also invest $150 million in marketing for these 7 years of development, which cost that much to matter? That's insane.
Probably had an inflated budget. This is clearly unsustainable. It's like every major AAA game is some massive...
Clay makes a really good point. Starfield wasn't a failure. A lot of people like slam on it, but there's no indication that it failed. It was a critical success, and it seems to have been a commercial success. So,
live or die gamble. Naturally, companies want to mitigate and avoid all the risk they can. So, again, they rely on established IPs and stick with what's familiar, and most of all, safe. So wait a minute, Ackman.
Suicide Squad's
You're telling
not
me
safe.
AAA games have become a greater risk, but also safer?
That's a paradox, John.
Think about it this way. The bigger the budget, the more employees working on a game, the more copies it needs to sell.
Yeah.
Therefore, it has to appeal to a lower common denominator. They have to simplify and dumb down something. They cannot take risks or experiment. They have to stick with what has proven to work. This is a huge reason why indie games such as Helldivers 2, Hades, Lethal Company are so much better at innovating on a popular formula or giving us something brand new. Which would you rather play, Back 4 Blood or Deep Rock Galactic? I better see some fucking rock and stone in the comments. But that's the thing.
Yeah, honestly,
Back 4 Blood is a cheap imitation of what inspired it.
Both
while
those games
Deep
are
Rock
interesting to me.
Galactic is a unique twist on the whole four dumbasses trying to accomplish something co-op game. Deep Rock is brimming with charm, style, and this is gonna sound cheesy as fuck, but you can feel the love that went into it. I can't say the same with Back 4 Blood. What are some other examples that illustrate how games have
Back 4
gotten
Blood
safe?
feels like
Well,
Left 4 Dead.
Let me ask you this.
But it didn't sell.
Did you think for 1 millisecond that the Modern Warfare 3 remake was going to do the no Russian scene justice? Did you think it was going to be as shocking, if not more so?
No!
You terrorist.
No!
You look like one.
What?
Woo! Oh, give the writers a raise. Of course not. Like, even Call of Duty feels like it's been sterilized. But of course, there's some exceptions with, like, Cold War. I mean, that game took some serious risks with its campaign and story, and it paid off. Gamers love being surprised. We love being thrown for a loop, because it's so hard to do now in the age of the internet and with all these leaks and everything. This is why Helldivers 2's live service is retaining so many players, because
Why?
there haven't been any roadmaps going into excruciating detail about what
I'm interested in what he's talking about and everything like that, but I feel like it just feels like a lot of these games are an outlier. Now, I would say that I'm having more fun playing old games than I am playing new games, and I'm not tremendously excited about anything in particular. Maybe Final Shape, because it's like a game I played for 10 years. That was like Destiny's like been my game. But yeah. Interesting.
to expect. It's why the redemption of No Man's Sky hit so hard, because Sean and Hello
Yeah.
Games just went into hibernation and came out when they had
They just made the
something
game.
to show people. When I say safe, I'm not just talking about the lack of innovation with game design, but also the writing. AAA franchises that used to go really hard with the dialogue now feel tame, like they're pulling punches. I'm not a huge expert on Fallout, so
I do think that a lot of the writing in games has been lacking. I think Cyberpunk had great writing. I think that's the last one that really jumps out at me as like, wow, this is really good writing. But a lot of it is drivel or derivative, repetitive, like, and it's not even compelling derivative. You can tell this. My life loves romantic comedies, right? The romantic comedy is two people meet, maybe they have a little flirty thing, something happens where they can't be together, then they figure out how to be together, and then they get married, or they walk off in the sunset together, right? It's traditionally that. Two people, seems like they love each other, something happens, they can't be together, they figure out how to be together, then they're together. And like, so you can write derivative or repetitive or like a story that's been told already and still have a compelling narrative. And I think more and more we just see less of that. We just see less good writing.
Fallout fans, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there is a massive difference between Bethesda's Fallout games and the other Fallout games. In New Vegas, you can literally sell drugs to children. Like that's a real choice you have in the game. You can be an absolute maniac. You can shake down a guy for caps and he'll say,
I think
"Well,
he's
you've
wrong on
taken
this one."
everything but the clothes off my back." And then you can say, "Actually, give me your fucking clothes too." You know what I mean? Like, for some reason, I just can't picture these types of things being in a new Fallout game. KOTOR 2 is also a
He's wrong.
fantastic example because I doubt
think
we'll
he's
ever
wrong.
see a Star Wars game that takes the franchise in such a bold direction.
You do some messed up
KOTOR
stuff
2
in 4.
is a Star Wars game where the main villain wants to kill the Force, destroy the Force, like remove it from the universe, destroy the concept of Sith and Jedi completely. There's no way in Nar Shaddaa we'd ever witness a Star Wars game that delves into that sort of thing.
I like that. I like that
According
as a
to Obsidian,
concept.
Chris Avalon, one of the main writers for New Vegas and KOTOR 2.
Didn't he just go
Obsidian
back to
made
Blizzard?
multiple proposals to develop spin-offs for Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, all of which were turned down by Bethesda. And while we can only imagine the reason why, perhaps it was too risky in their eyes. Here's another example, Halo Wars 2. Console RTS, pretty niche, but its expansion,
Yeah.
Awakening the Nightmare, was the first time in a decade we saw the Flood in a Halo game.
It was-
Why haven't
it
the
was
Flood
cool.
appeared in the main series? Don't want to risk lowering the sales with an M rating, right? M-rated games don't sell too great, do they? Speaking of Rockstar, God, this industry pisses me off sometimes. LA Noire 2, where is it? Bully 2? And you might think, well, isn't that hypocritical, Ackman? You were just complaining about these companies sticking to established IPs. But both of these franchises only have one game. And that's kind of my point. Instead of making one, $400 million game, why not cut a chunk of that out and develop multiple AA games?
What if they took one of these $150 million AAA budgets and made a couple of $20 million bets with them, right? And just funded a bunch of projects, and the risk is much smaller. And I think that would be very good for the industry. And I wish AAA would take more risks like that with smaller teams. Then you would get that cohesion. You would get.
Can
that
you
sort
do
of
that?
Singular vision, I think. And
Can you do that? Because you're talking about like carving out a huge amount of development staff to just like go make these
and
games.
stronger creativity out of it.
I at least understand this for Rockstar because their games are so overhyped. If they released a sequel,
And didn't they just release table tennis or something? So aren't they doing that? It's just not the games that people want.
that you thought was a 9 out of 10, that would feel disappointing. A bunch of Halo spin-offs were also pitched to leadership at 343, including an ODST-themed game similar to Helldivers 2. Imagine what could have been. I guess I just don't understand why the corporate side of game development treats every title like it has to be an all-in bet. Do you see what I'm getting at? So many of our favorite franchises that we...
That is a good point. That I will agree with. Why does the whole industry have to be like all or nothing? I think there's an answer to it. Like part of the answer is obviously like you can't just carve out a huge amount of your staff to go work on some $20 million passion project unless you're Microsoft. Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, that's exactly what they did. So the thing that he is wishing they would do, some places are doing it. Maybe he'll get to it, but they're not doing it at the places where they want them to do it. Right?
we grew to love because
Yeah,
of how
that's what I'm
bold
saying,
they
Clay.
were, are now playing it safe. And that's why indie and AA gaming is thriving right now, because they can take risks. They're not obsessing over how many people are going to buy the game. The developers of Palworld were like,
Yeah.
I hope this doesn't make us go bankrupt.
Yeah, you know what? A big part of the philosophy that I think it's really refreshing, because what I really like to see is there are people out there who are making games and just hoping, hey, I hope I make some money doing this. And like, I like this. That's why I do YouTube. Like, I like not for money, but the reason I like doing YouTube is because I like talking about video games. So that's why I continue to talk about video games. And these smaller developers, they're just like, I just want to make a game. All right, I made a game. Hopefully people buy it. It's not like they have to buy it or we're doomed. And that's where
Indie
we're at in
studios
AAA.
are operating at the level that AAA used to. And when you don't have to make hundreds of
Yeah.
millions of dollars to keep your company afloat and not fire your entire studio, you can take risks. And going back to my initial comparison between Arrowhead and Ubisoft, there's a huge difference in the mission statements of AAA and indie games. Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie game. Larian is an independent studio, but the quality is so amazing, you'd assume it's AAA, right? There's this trend
Well,
of indie developers
they're a big company.
reassuring customers that they're
But they're
not gonna nickel
independent.
and dime us. No, there are no in-game purchases in our game. We believe in providing a complete and immersive gaming experience without the need for additional purchases. Vermintide 2 is one of the only games to do loot boxes right because they didn't sell them. At the height of the loot box craze, no less. Helldivers 2 doesn't let you pay for tiers in the freedom passes. Indie developers can afford to be more player friendly because they don't have these investors hanging over their heads and these massive budgets. You might think all these egregious
I think microtransactions, like the way they're implemented in Helldivers, are okay. They sell like a cape once a week or something like that. And the problem is most of these games are to the point where they're ripping tons of content out so they can shove it into the store and sell it to you. Like you can't earn any of that stuff. Like Helldivers does like let's say they have 100 cosmetics in the game that you can also just earn by playing the game. It's great. And like, plus they're already making the money with the $60 or whatever you pay, or 50. Helldivers isn't even $70 game.
just microtransactions is just pure corporate greed, and there's
Yeah,
a good
it's
chance some
out
it
of
is,
hand.
but it's also a safeguard, like a necessity. And I
Yeah.
think the solution
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Also, he talks about how like if they don't have microtransactions in their game, their studio will be dead. They'll die. They are supplementing their game development costs with microtransactions. They have to exist at this point. If they don't, they likely will not be able to make more games in the future. It's like poison. It has poisoned the well. And I've talked about that a lot also.
is just to make games smaller, dude. Now, a really shitty
Yeah, Larian is
byproduct
not
of
small.
This risk-averse mentality is that a lot of these publishers are looking for a quick buck. They want to make easy money. So what do? Bingo! Flood the market with shitty remasters. Boy, there's been an abundance of these lately. The Last of Us 1 on PC, GTA Trilogy.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that one was.
Hell, even Dark Souls Remastered sucked major ass.
It did?
Don't even get me started on that.
Whoa, I don't think he's right. Did the Dark Souls remaster suck? I thought it was great. It was bad? I don't think that's correct. Anyway,
Fucking Battlefront collection.
That was
You know
bad.
at one point
Battlefront was
Warcraft 3 Reforged had like 3 people working on it. Like one guy was supposed to remake all of the cutscenes. And this is so perplexing. These studios dump 10 figures into a new game, but can't even hire 10 people to make a decent remaster. It's like there's no middle ground. It's either no budget or dump the bank account. Meanwhile, Lethal Company, made by one guy. Now, because studios are investing so much, they tend to interfere with the creative process to insane degrees.
Did he say Dark Souls
They
or
see
Demon
trends
Souls?
that are making money elsewhere, and they think, well, let's just throw that into our game. I'm funding this. What I say goes. Redfall lost 70% of its Arcane staff during development, struggled the whole way. Development of Redfall began in 2018 as parent ZeniMax was quietly looking to sell itself and was encouraging its studios to create games as a service projects like Overwatch.
Wow.
Microtransactions were intensely encouraged. However, the problems in trying to develop Redfall surfaced early. Firstly, management kept offering conflicting visions of what the game would and should be, resulting in developer confusion about what they were creating. How to reconcile single player and multiplayer within an Arcane game was never really resolved.
Yeah, people can't
either.
decide, Maury.
Secondly, Arcane employed fewer than 100 people, which had been enough to make a single player game, but was not a healthy number for developing a large multiplayer
Yeah, what's the
game with
future of Arcane? It's
microtransactions to
Blade, right?
manage. Outsourcing work to other studios was reportedly not enough to alleviate the strain. As a result of plummeting morale and lack of direction, veteran
I mean, we've talked about Redfall as like a
employees
disaster.
left the company in droves. With about
He makes a really good point. Why are the two options spend $300 million or you get one dude to make the Warcraft 3 remaster? What? Why are those the two options? That's insane.
70% of the staff ultimately leaving Arcane. Redfall is not the only story of its kind. You can look at most AAA flops or AAA games that severely disappointed, and you'll find something similar. Management
I think his B-roll usage is kind of bad because Destiny isn't a flop. Destiny is a problem. Like, it's problematic because they miss revenue by 45%, but it's not a flop. They're still making money. They still have like a whole studio in it. It's like one of the most profitable games that they make. And then he has that next to Forspoken, which was a flop, and I think they closed the studio because of it. So like, we'll see what happens with Destiny, but I would hardly consider a 10-year franchise a flop.
Management wanted this. I imagine they feel they have to micromanage these things, again, because of the investment. Sometimes with AAA games,
like Destiny is a game that has a ton of problems that can be discussed, but it can't be called a flop. Overwatch you could probably maybe call a flop.
it feels like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And Gordon Ramsay is pissed.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
There's got to be a happy middle ground in dev team size. Too small and you feel like the world rests on your shoulders. Too big and you feel like you have zero agency and influence. These big dev teams, especially when they're spread out against multiple studios across the country, can sometimes have very inefficient communication, bureaucracy.
Yeah, how did Larian figure that out? Because their studios are all over the world, and they like nailed it.
Next, Battlefield has the largest development team so far. 1 year later, former DICE dev says 2042 never stood much chance being great at launch. There's a video by Timothy Kane, the creator of the original Fallout, about game development caution. And he talks about how certain things in game development now
Good old Tim
that
Kane.
could be fixed in 45 minutes now take 4 weeks.
Oh, I saw this video. He tells the story about somebody comes in. They're like, here's a problem. He's like, I can fix that in 2 minutes. And they're like, well, wait, we got to run it by like the approvals. And then we got to run it by marketing. And then this other person needs to take a look at it. And we need to have a scrum meeting about it. And he's like, I fixed it already. Here you go. Like the point is like the structures at some of these companies are to their own detriment.
When we were making the Outer Worlds,
Yeah.
the combat AI wasn't really in yet, so I asked for a very simple combat aggression code to be added. This is how simple it was. Every time an NPC got shot, they would see if that person was on the list of someone who'd shot them. If they weren't, they'd add them to the list with the amount of damage they just took.
If then, it sounds like an if then coding statement to me. If character X isn't on list, put it on list. Like, I don't think it needs to do anything.
If they were already on the list, they just add the amount of damage they took. Whenever they're deciding who to attack, they attack the person at the top of the list. That's it. That's all I wanted. The programmer who it got signed to came to me and said, I need 4 weeks.
It's an if then statement. Like, look, I haven't done coding in a long time. The dude said he needs 4 weeks for it. It's an if then statement. And then like you add it to the array or whatever, wherever you track the damage. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a programming master, but Jesus, anybody in chat, like, am I off? It's if I get shot, run this array. Would it be a function or array where you check the thing? Is this person on the list? No. Add it to list. Or do until, or whatever you want to do. But like, it's not a ton of code. If then else statement. Yeah.
Weeks. And I'm like, why? Walk me through what you're going to do. And he goes, you don't understand. And I was like, I've coded this 3 times. Walk me through it. And he wouldn't. He left. He left angry. Lead programmer came back, started yelling at me, saying, if he says he needs 4 weeks, he needs 4 weeks. And I'm like, then I will do it. I'll have it done before lunch. And he said, no, because then people will have to support your code. I'm like, I'm going to walk you through what I want. And you tell me why this takes 4 weeks. He looked at what I wrote, which was about 10 lines of pseudocode.
It's 10 lines. It's an if then statement. Like, look. What? Programming 101. If then else. Do well or do until. I don't know.
On a whiteboard, and he goes, I'll come back. He came back about an hour later and said, what about 2 weeks? And I said, do I have any options here? Fine. 2 weeks.
You want to fix these lines of code? That decision has to go through 10 fucking departments now.
Yeah.
It needs to be approved by your manager, by your manager's manager. It has to go through the marketing team, the DEI office. The fucking janitor's cousin has to approve it. Indie developers don't have the same level of bureaucracy.
How insane is that? That there's like me who's done a little bit of programming. There's people over on Twitch who've done programming. They're like, yeah, it seems pretty simple. It's an if then else statement. And this guy needs 2 weeks.
I imagine if there's a
It's not about lazy. There's some bureaucratic thing happening. That's insane. That's insane to me. Like, okay, what needs to be taken off of your plate? We'll do that later. Do the if then else statement.
problem with the code, you could just walk over to the cubicle of Jimbo and ask him about it without the fucking HR department breathing down your neck. Then you also have to make games
that one
can be
was
released
insane.
in China. You need that China money. It has to hit certain quotas and scores on diversity, equity, and inclusion to secure funding.
Yeah, I don't think China's concerned about that.
And the game needs to have microtransactions for this consistent revenue source, a live service business model, so that makes the investors happy.
That's
Can
true.
you see how creativity dies in this environment?
Yeah, but it's not a freelance situation, Dot. So like in a freelance situation, it's like, I need this done. Okay, it's done. You get paid. Like that's how it works as a freelancer. This is like a full-time thing. That's insane that it would take 2 weeks.
Games are made by committee and not creativity. It also seems like the more employees a company has, the easier it is for you to blend in and not be seen or heard. Indie studios typically have better working conditions with flexible hours. Employees have more creative control.
But
Smaller teams
they're
allow the
expected to
individual
do their
to have
job.
more influence on a game and a greater impact. I've seen a lot of articles from ex-developers who say, this game wasn't what we intended to make. It wasn't what we envisioned. Disagreements are going to spring up in game
Games take money and time to make. So money and money. I like that.
development. But it's easier to settle an argument between 2 people than it is 100.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, indie gaming has risen where AAA has fallen. The decline of AAA gaming is due to the insane budgets, scope, and expectations of these games. How that affects the employees, the work environment, the investors and higher-ups who have to constantly micromanage these games and throw in their own ideas when they have no fucking clue what makes a good video game. I feel like a lot of these developers simply don't have the same luxuries and freedom to create.
I mean, like it's not as complicated as that. It's a poor executive leadership and decision making. Like they implement and enforce 4 lines of code or 7 lines of code that take 2 weeks to implement. Like that's insane. Just like it's like a test room implemented in the test room. So yeah, it's just as I've said, it's just executives. It's the money hats. They muck it all up.
Game development
In
in
AAA.
the AAA space is now a committee process where
Yeah.
simple solutions to bugs can take weeks, where the freedom to express and create art and take risks.
It's like, hey, I need you to make a gun that shoots bullets at that guy. Okay, well let's get that meeting on the books so that we can meet with 50 different people to make it happen. It's just like it's too much.
Risks is suppressed in favor of creating the generic and the safe. Too many external
I don't think-
factors have disrupted what used to be.
I don't like that he
a
keeps
creative-
using Destiny as B-roll because I don't think it's a good like I don't think Destiny's generic. What other game is like Destiny? If you want to say generic and safe, I would show Redfall. Like I think that would be fairly generic, or Call of Duty. Call of Duty. Destiny was before War. I actually don't know.
process with the singular goal of making the best and most fun video game possible. It ain't about that no more. This shit has to make money, and a lot of it. And it's for all these reasons that AAA gaming is declining, and why indie titles are thriving. But what do you think? What are some of your favorite indie games? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to join my public Discord server.
I usually like Ackman stuff. I feel like some stuff really made me think about some of the points that he was making. But to answer his question, the title of the video is "Why are AAA games getting worse?" And I think it's very simple to boil down. Executives ruin AAA gaming. Normally his videos are pretty funny and sort of fun to watch. That one, I feel like, I don't know. I don't agree with all of his points. I didn't expect out of all of the people that I would disagree with. Usually I'm pretty like, yeah, Ekman makes a lot of good points and I like his video, but like, I feel like the answer is like so simple that it was sort of overcomplicated by the video. Yeah, I don't know. It's executives, it's the like marketing team, etc. Cocoon was my favorite game last year. Yeah, good example, right? And then you could also think about like successful AAA games that have been doing well. Like Returnal. Is Returnal considered AAA because Sony owns them now? Like Returnal was one of my favorite games. It did great. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I got for today. I'm going to go play with the kids for a bit. I am going to be playing World of Warcraft. You know what? Before I go, I'm going to play WoW for like 1 minute. Maybe you guys can answer some questions for me while I play. Let's see what happens. Do we have audio? Gotta switch this back to game. All right, so this is my character. It's a warrior. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so I will kill the kobold workers. They're over here. So I've never played this. So I played vanilla, and I'm very confused about something. Can anybody tell me why are the wolves poisoned in this version? Oh yeah, I can't read this. Oh, now I can. Tell me, warrior, have you heard an orc scream yet? Perhaps defend your home from those they see as throw it out. Sounds harsh, doesn't it? Well, you're going to need my help if you want to protect your loved ones. You'll find me inside the Abbey in Northshire. My knowledge doesn't come cheap, but if you're experienced enough, I can train you in a number of styles and moves that will help you fight off the threats to Stormwind and beyond. Okay. Go see Leanne. Got it. I need the workers, right? All right. So one interesting thing was also that they give you a two-hander from the start. All right. Yeah, you guys don't want to watch this, do you? My brother's addicted to this game. It's just Warcraft. Like, here, look. Fighting the kobold worker. It's sort of quaint. It's just kind of nice to play an old game like this. Very simple. Like, it's not overcomplicated. You just kind of like have your few taskbar things. I think the level cap is like 60. Getting pretty good XP still. I gotta kill 8 of these guys. I like how it just kind of like, it's really organic in how you play it, for lack of a better term. And XP is way faster in this one for some reason. I don't know if that's intentional, but it's like gameplay is a little loud, I guess, huh? 5. Here's number 6. Why are the wolves infected? Yeah, I turned it down. Is that better? They wouldn't let me use the name Destin because I think I took it on my WoW vanilla server. Oh. Did I just get a cloak? What is this? So I have something with no armor, and this one has armor. So let's put that on. Wait, so that one has 8. And then I have a belt with 3. Like, it's very simple. Like, you don't have to be a genius to figure out how the game works. And that's very refreshing. It's so easy. This game is too slow for the fast action and 10 million cuts a second for this generation. Yeah, it's just slow. It's so nice to just hang out and just play a very simple game. Like, it's not overwhelming or anything. It's just sort of chill. It's like, oh, I gotta go grind up my character. Like, I like this. Yeah, so I subscribe. I've been pleasantly surprised. This is WoW Classic, by the way. This is the Lich King server, not the base server. I don't remember why I was killing these guys. It was a quest. And then I need to kill... I don't know where I get the red burlap bandana. Bring 8 outside Northshire Abbey. So Northshire is... Anyway, I got 2 quests turning. I need AI to play this. Here's the thing, like, it's a lot of slow walking, very methodical gameplay for sure. All right, Marshall, what you got for me?
Light be with you. Light bless you. Be careful.
I leveled up. Let's go. I like that it doesn't let me just click accept. It makes me read it. I've already done this, but like it's telling me to go to the mine and figure out what's going on with the kobolds.
For the Alliance.
And then I gotta go to Northshire Abbey, which is straight south of here. Who am I looking for? What's her name? Oh, she's in here to the right. No, I want damage numbers. I'm one of those. Oh, and then he's gonna train me. Good.
You need something? Have a good one. For the Alliance. See you later. What can I do for you?
Charge and rend. All right, cool. Do I have enough? I gotta go sell all my junk, don't I? Dang it. I need 95. What do I need here? All right, let's go sell some stuff. Yeah, it's just chill, man. I really dig this a lot, actually. Like, it might be a problem. And there's a lot of, like, in-game stuff that just feels really refreshing also.
Only the finest goods.
That one's crap. What am I wearing? I have a 35. This is a 35. It's an 8. Should probably just sell the apples, actually.
Honor, friend.
All right, hopefully that's enough so that I can get trained up with my other abilities. That charge ability is great. Whoa. Classic starts off slow. You really have to get into it.
Greetings.
Well, I only have a month to do it, so... I'm short.
See you around.
Wait, what was that other thing?
Hey there.
Hey there. Battle Shout? I'll take it. And then Rend is really good because it causes bleed.
Have a good one.
It didn't put it on my taskbar organically, though. That's a little weird. So charge on 3. And then Battle Shout on 6 is how I had it before. Still super bummed that I lost all my prize. Phil Ronnie, at what point do you think AAA Studio becomes AAA? They have to be owned by like a conglomerate, I suppose. Yeah, my hot take would be that they'd have to be like some sort of massive company. I need to earn a little bit of money here. Hit him. What level am I? Well, let me look right now. I think I'm already 4. Yeah, so it took me like 2 days to get to level 7. And I'm already level 4.
Not enough rage.
Definitely faster. All right, let's see if that's enough to get my bleed ability, and then we can go south. Oh.
You need something?
Don't need that. $4 versus 35. Yeah, don't need that. 18 versus 24. All right, how much do I have? Yeah, I'm good.
Around.
I want my Rend ability. You've been playing Fallout 3. See, everybody's playing old games right now. Like, modern games just are doing something wrong. There's just something about modern games that aren't as compelling as playing a super old game.
Can I help you?
All right, let's get my rend ability.
See you later.
Wrong button. Boop. I appreciate the question, Bill Roney. All right, we're going to go south, and if I die, I'll go buy some clothes from that one character. So far, the intro experience has largely been the same. They want me to go south to the mine, and also I got to talk to that one guy. Whoop. I started Jedi Survivor since it's on Game Pass. Is that the first one or the second one? I can't remember.
Good day to you.
Go to the inn and rest. Yeah, so go to the Lion's Pride Inn, which is south of the area. Talk to the innkeeper Farley.
See you around.
And then there's a lady with cats over here and a bunch of... So last time I played, this lady with cats gives you a quest, and then there's like really hard enemies right behind her house. And I was very surprised by how difficult. Is WoW the new Destiny? Yeah. Oh, she doesn't have the quest this time.
You need something? See you around.
Okay, well that's weird. She had a quest, I thought. All right, so let's see if I just get nuked by this guy. Yeah, he's level 5. Now, one thing that I was confused by, like, I thought that these guys were where I got the bandanas. Yeah, they're definitely easier. No bandana. Are these not the Brotherhood of Thieves? That's what's confusing to me.
It's too far away.
Oh shit. I'm dead. There's no way. Yeah, I'm dead. I'll do my best, but I don't think this is gonna go well. Oh, yeah. All right. So like nothing really happens, and I'm probably not that far away from my corpse. This happened the first time I played with it also. Oh, you move faster now. So I died like here. Can I not spawn on top of the... Can I not spawn where I'm just like instantly gonna die? I'm gonna try and sneak through here. I'm just trying to get to the Lion's Inn or whatever. Just gonna go back on the path. Goldshire. So it doesn't seem... So, question. Anybody in chat who has played World of Warcraft? Oh, really? There's an AI voiceover mod? That's cool. If I were to play this game on Lich King versus Classic, am I missing anything? Or is all the content in Lich King also in Classic? There's some differences, like there's infected wolves, which I don't really get.
Light bless you.
But beyond that, it seems pretty fine, like standard.
You need something?
I've already done, like, I know exactly where to go in the beginning, so it's not that hard. That's a good tip, Floppy.
Safe travels.
All right, and then I gotta talk to the bartender. Yeah, this is such a different experience because there's actually players online.
Something?
It's cool.
See you later.
Take that one.
Have a good one.
I love, so like a small thing that really jumped out at me about World of Warcraft. I love this kitchen. I just think it's cool. They just have this huge carcass just sitting on the table. And I think that's great. It just makes me ask questions about the world. Like, what did they kill that is ribs this big? Why is this chunk of meat that large? Like, obviously it was probably just like something they had to do at the time. Oh, I love when you go in the basement, the music's, it's like the nerdy goth kids in the basement. I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, so there's a lot of quaint stuff about WoW Classic that I do like a lot.
How are you?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a phenomenon like it, but like it's just kind of nice to go back to a point in time where this was like good. So like I'm level 4 right now.
Step on up.
Two-handed sword. It costs 3 gold. I have... Where's my gold? Do I really only have 21 gold? Yeah, so I need 3 silver. And then I think I need
Can I
you,
help
right?
you?
Oh, can I get Thunderclap already?
Farewell.
I need to go level. There's something here that I can fight that's not going to aggro like everybody. Let's see if I can kill this bull.
Need more rage.
Need that level 6 damage boost. Yeah, I can just fight the bulls. And you get some pretty good cash for their hides or whatever. Anyway, I should probably get... See, I already have a problem with World of Warcraft. I'll play this later tonight. As long as there's nothing that I'm aggroing, it's gonna be good. Wait, what is this? Oh, they actually mark where things are on the map now. Wow, Lich King adds like so many quality of life things that I either didn't notice or like resting, death, food, spellbook. I can go train and I can use items. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off there, everybody, but thanks. Yeah. So like I'm kind of into World of Warcraft right now. Didn't expect that. I'll see you for the next one, everybody. Big thank you to all the members for supporting. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. You guys rock. If you want to become a member, you can click that join button. And of course, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when my content goes live. Thank you so much, everybody. Check out my last video about the Fallout TV show and how great it is. And I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.